Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the greatest recordings ever. Of course they are. And today we're talking about Sibelius, Symphony number 5, his most popular symphony after the second, which means it's been recorded about 40 trillion times by even people who don't particularly like Sibelius. It's just, I don't know, so many recordings to go through. Traditionally, this is the deal here. Traditionally, there were 3 or 4 really outstanding recordings that people sort of tossed back and forth. They were Bernstein, Carillon on DG. Bernstein was on Sony, and Colin Davis on Philips with the Boston Symphony. Now, most of these people, all of them, actually, all 3 of them, recorded the symphony more than once. And the 2 recordings were usually not as good not compatible, whether the second one was better than the first or the first was better than the second. Usually the first ones were better. The Fifth Symphony is a very, very tricky piece. Oh my goodness, it's very, very difficult to do. Why is it difficult to do? Because it's an essay in the art of transition. The opening is very slow and sort of nature-like, and it's spooky and creepy, and then it rises to this huge climax, which gradually accelerates into a scherzo, or dance-like movement, which was originally a separate movement. Sibelius revised and joined the 2 together, the first 2 movements, because they're based on all the same music, the same themes, so it made sense. And then it gradually accelerates until the very end. And getting these tempo adjustments and relationships correct is a big problem. It's difficult. There's a wonderful video of Leonard Bernstein actually doing it, conducting the whole thing. He's in a conducting class, and the conducting student's supposed to do it, but he said, screw it. Let me show you how to do it. And he does it, and it's marvelous. His remake with the Vienna Philharmonic gets all of it wrong. It's terrible. So, it just goes to show. Even people who know how to do it don't always get it done. And then the finale does the opposite. The finale starts quickly and then gradually slows down to the coda. And then, of course, everybody makes a meal out of the last chords because they're these big chords punctuated by silence. And then at the very last 2, there's a grace note on the timpani, which can be played on the beat or off the beat, which means the last chords could either go ka-chunk, ka-chunk, or they could just go brum, brum, or you could not hear that at all. They just go bum, bum. All of them are possible. All of them are perfectly legitimate, and it doesn't make a damn bit of difference which one the conductor does. It's just a fact that they're going to do one of those things. And for people who get hysterical over which one they do, need to take a pill. It's ridiculous. But that finale with the gorgeous swan theme, da 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 on the horns, and then the winds come in with the da 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 da. Oh my God, it's so beautiful, and it does have to just soar. It flies, and getting that right is also an issue, because it's all string tremolos. String players hate this symphony. Hate it. In fact, for about the first couple of minutes, they don't play anything at all. It's all scored for the woodwinds. And then violins come in with their tremolo, like this, which they have to do for like the next 10 minutes while the woodwinds have all the tunes. And it's so ungrateful for the violins. It really is. When I was in my community orchestra, the best way to make sure your volunteer violin section never showed up was to announce that you were going to do Sibelius's Fifth. But it's in 3 movements. It's a totally organic, fascinating work. It really is. So, which is one of the greatest recordings ever? Well, I'm going back to first causes, at least in stereo. Colin Davis with the Boston Symphony, formerly on Philips, now on Decca. This is a fabulous performance that gets everything right. And that is a big deal. It really is. It gets some things right that other people didn't even know you could get right. I'll tell you about that in a second. But first, the first movement is generally moderate in tempo in this performance. That is, the extremes from very slow to very quick aren't as wide as they are for someone like, say, Bernstein, who's really flying at the end of the movement, which could be absolutely exciting. It really can be. Or you could try and keep things a little bit more reined in terms of the range of tempo, but have it all cohere quite wonderfully. Or the result is that it coheres. I wouldn't say that Bernstein doesn't cohere. Of course it does. But I mean, this is a particularly extra sticky form of coherence. So the transition from the slow first part to the quicker second part is beautiful. The speeds that Davis adopts allow you, to hear everything, which you really want. You want to, in Sibelius, how those strings play the tremolos is very, very important. You don't want to just hear some sort of, inchoate buzzing. You really want to hear this sort of, because the music has this pulsation. It's like an organism, It's like it's breathing and multiplying and doing things. And so you want to hear that constant buzz or hum of life, of vitality and vibrancy. And string players, of course, have to be kicked in the ass to do it, because most of the time they're like, they just don't care unless they have the tune. So that's a big deal. But then at the end of the first movement, oh my goodness, the tempo, you can tell the tempo is just the tempo it ought to be, because the timpani, played by the unbelievable Vic Firth, and this is one of the few performances that really gets it right, have to do a crazy double drum tremolo, steady notes, double drum tremolos, repeated notes, tremolo thing at the end. And it just sounds thrilling when it's done correctly. It's like that. It's just insanely fabulous. And because you can hear it, and because you get the rhythm, the fact that Davis is taking a more modest pace makes perfect sense. It actually sounds faster than many faster performances that just blow by in a blur, because of the clarity of articulation. The strings too. The strings they're not doing tremolos, but they're doing repeated cha-cha-cha-cha-cha, the Sibelius chugga-chuggas. So it's da-da-da, the trumpets are going da-da-dum, bum, 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 bum. But underneath, the strings are going like this. And you hear them. Again, it's not just a buzz. It's not a blur. There's rhythm. And that makes it just fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. Now, the middle movement, the central movement, is actually a set of variations on a rhythm. And the rhythm is just a bunch of repeated notes. Dum bum 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 bum. It's just how Sibelius sustains this for like 7 or 8 or 9 minutes is just a miracle. It's amazing, absolutely amazing, and it's beautifully done. And again, it's all woodwinds. Actually, the strings finally do come in with da 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 yeah da 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 da. Oh, they sound so happy when they finally get the tune. Then you get to the finale. Oh wow, that's where how strings played the tremolos really matters, because it's all buzzing and humming. It's again, it doesn't have to be fast to sound fast, because it sounds fast when everything is articulated correctly. And it's just a wonderful performance. And the Boston Symphony sounds fabulous. The wonderful thing about them is the differentiation of timbres and the brass. That's one of the wonderful things about them, aside from the strings and timpani and woodwinds and everything else. The trumpets are kind of gnarly sounding, and the trombones have a piercing quality, and the horns are. It's just a wonderful sound for this particular symphony, because it keeps everything distinct. And I like distinctitude. I really, really do. So here it is, one of the greatest recordings ever of Sibelius, Symphony No. 5, Colin Davis, Boston Symphony, formerly Phillips, now Decca. Listen and be amazed. Thanks for joining me, friends. Take care.